Shalom, everybody. It's Fridays with Sandy. Our beloved leader, John Byrne, is getting his weekly manicure. So it's just me and our candidate, a very exciting young man who I'm going to ask to introduce himself, including pronouncing his name. Mr. Candidate, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Akhil. That's how it's pronounced. I currently work for Assa Abloy. It's a Swedish manufacturing company dealing in locks and door opening solutions. So we are the world leaders in what we do. And I currently work as in the internal strategy division of our company, overseeing the Asia Pacific region. And before that, I was a student at the London School of Economics, where I graduated with a second upper.
Okay, and you've got a 750 GMAT. You say a second upper at the University of London is kind of a 3.5 in Amerikansky talk, and you're working for a company that I never heard of, but you're saying it's got 11.1 billion in sales, and it's listed on the Swedish stock exchange. So it's like a big company. You also say that in your journey, people don't normally apply to business school from the people you've met at both a rotational leadership program and your current job. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So normally people, I don't know anybody who's applied to business school from my company that I've interacted with so far.
Yeah. Suppose somebody said, well, gee, how come you're applying?
Yeah, I think because it sort of fits in with my long-term career goals. So I feel like MBA is the right path for me right now.
What's your long-term career goal?
So I'm looking to transition. I feel like I've got a good strategy experience, but it's only in one particular industry so far, the manufacturing industry. So I'm looking to transition into management consulting after my MBA.
What tell me someone whose job you want in 30 years or 20 years.
Yeah, sure. So there's this person called Guy Spear that I really admire. He's an HBS alumni, and he worked in the industry for a few years after his MBA, and he set up a value investing fund based out of Switzerland. And his investing philosophy is something that I really admire. So I would like to set up my own investing firm 30 years later.
Yeah, give me a roadmap for that. Setting up your own fund is terrific, and you're a kind of Warren Buffett value investor. Did I read that someplace?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, well, those people are always well liked and often successful. Can you give me the roadmap to that?
Sure. So I feel like going into consulting is going to give me exposure to a lot of different industries. It's going to help me equip with a lot of different skills, which I believe are really important to be a good investor. As Warren Buffett himself says that he's a better investor because he's a businessman. So being in consulting is going to give me that experience. And then I hope 5 to 6 years later to join and work for an investment fund where join an investment fund where I'll do investing in public companies, mainly focused on India. And then probably 15 to 20 years later, start my own investment fund.
Okay, that's the roadmap. I think the timing may be longer than it usually takes. But so tell me the highlights. After business school, what's job one?
A consulting company like McKinsey, Bain, or BCG.
Okay, so I would say that's an excellent place to start, particularly in your case. You're working for a large company, but it's not well known in the. It's not. I wouldn't call it a brand name, even though it's on the Swedish stock exchange. So working for McKinsey would give you exposure and credibility, and then a lot of people leave those Bain, McKinsey, BCG. Their second job is often working for an investment fund. Is that your plan?
Yes, that's exactly my plan.
Good, that makes sense. To start an investment fund, and you've got a good idea of what that's like. You got a 750 and a 3.5. Okay, let me, drum roll, please. Let me give you your odds. You're very impressive. You've had a lot of success. On the other hand, you're a male guy in, well, you're not in consulting. You're a male guy who, what you've got going for you is working for a company that a lot of business schools, they may have heard of, but they don't have you'd be like the only member from that company in the class, right?
I might be the only member from the whole industry, because I don't think a lot of people in this whole industry apply to it. Even though it's a pretty big company, it's present in 70 plus countries, 52,000 employees overall, so it's a big company.
What would you call the industry?
It's the electronic manufacturing industry. So our major products are locks and mainly smart locks currently, but it's still, if you narrow it down to the security and security solutions, I don't think anybody would be there.
Yeah, I agree with you. You might be defining it too limited, but what you've got going for you is business schools say, look, here's a guy with a slightly unusual background, and we don't have a lot of people. We certainly don't have people from his particular subsection of the industry, and we don't have a lot of people just from manufacturing companies to begin with. So that's his value. And the question is how much value add that provides to them. They got a lot of males with 750 and 3.5, particularly HBS and Wharton. So the question is, what value are they going to put on your somewhat unusual business experience? And I would work that up in my application. I would really talk about how the experiences you've had, what the influence has been at each stage on your resume, and that's what you've got to do. You know, like here's an example. You know, the Harvard essay says, we've already got your resume, blah, blah, blah. Then they say, what else do you want us to know about you? So what would you say? What were you thinking of saying?
So right now I narrowed it down to two stories that I was planning to share. One of this was when I was a student tutor at my university, and I helped teach accounting to a few kids, and those were from different international backgrounds. And I had to face a lot of challenges culturally, as well as getting over my fears of teaching to overcome that, and how that carried on towards my NGO work, where I helped over 200 kids get into school, and how that influenced me and what I learned from that.
Okay, that's a good story. Just hanging out there, but what does it tell them about you or your goals? How has this influenced your goals? That seems like a reach.
So it's nothing to do with my goals. It just shows a side of me that isn't covered in the application so far. But what would you recommend I write the HBS essay about?
I'd make it. I say this every week. I'd say my goal is to be an impactful, whatever your goal is, an impactful investor. I'm impressed by people, of course, like Warren Buffett. This is the way it started, you know, and role models for me are, and you could mention the guy you mentioned, okay?
Yeah.
Here's the hard part. Several personal and professional experiences have been influential in the formation of that goal.
Okay.
You don't have to say it that way, but that has to be the meaning.
Okay.
And then what you've got to do is show, using the thing you mentioned is good, but the harder part would be, what was the influence of that experience on your long-term goal? Can you do it now? Can you suggest what you might say?
Yeah, so one of the things that I realized working with so many kids is that there's really, the financial inclusion really is a really backward, I would say, in India right now. Barely 1 to 2% of people invest in equities, which I believe is the greatest form of wealth creation. So
Yeah,
through my
you're saying things that are all true. You're just not connecting the dots in any convincing way. You understand what I'm saying?
sort of, not completely.
What I'm saying is you're not explaining how the influence of working with these kids has impacted your goal to be a Warren Buffett type investor.
Yeah, so because of those reasons, I feel that becoming sort of that kind of investor, you could really help so many people uplift out of poverty because that investing and wealth creation is the greatest tool available. So doing that, you could really transform multiple families' lives.
Yeah, that's all true. But how does that connect to working with these kids?
Um, I'm not sure how exactly it does, but I think I'll have to figure out a way to connect them.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a straight line connection. It could be a dotted line connection. You
Yeah,
could say, my goal of being a Warren Buffett type investor, there have been several influences. One was the X months I spent working with wide group of people. And
yeah,
what I got to see firsthand there was the impact of low income or poverty or lack of access to resources. One or two very important influences was this one child, Joe, and he was attempting to do this, but his family life was so dysfunctional that he couldn't do it, and that really impacted me. You get it?
yeah, I get it.
And then you do Joe, and then you do Jane, and then that's one of the four experiences that have influenced your desire to be a Warren Buffett type investor. Okay.
Okay, okay, understood.
Uh, I think the 750 is great. Uh, I think London School of Economics is a plus. I think they like people from there. You got a second upper, uh, and people from the industries you've worked in general have not applied to business school. All those are pluses. Whether it overcomes the fact that you're just another male, working in, finance, of whom is a large group, that's the question to be seen. I think you got a lot going for you that makes sure they can get you out of that cohort. I think your chances of being interviewed at HBS are like 35, 40%,
Okay,
which is high. Harvard's just really hard to get into. Uh,
yeah.
and Wharton kind of the same. But what others have you thought about? I think your chances at Yale, London Business School, and INSEAD are very, very good. You should get admitted to those places. Do you know people there?
A few of them I've reached out to them in the process of researching schools, and so I reached out to a few of them and I've spoken to a few of them.
Yeah. Did you get an idea of what their background was and how, just from an admissions officer's point of view and how it compared to yours?
Yeah, so I did, and the feedback was really good. All of them said that, especially London Business School and INSEAD, really value international experience and diversity. So they felt that that was one thing I really had going for me.
Yeah. You should get into those places. Uh, a place that you would really like and would like you is the Tuck School at Dartmouth. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I have heard of that.
It's just worth thinking about. Uh, like, uh, well, I was going to say, let's say you didn't get into HBS, although I think your chances are mighty good. But, HBS is tough. And then you applied to Wharton and Tuck. And then it became well, here's like Wharton and Yale. Let's suppose you got into both of them. Where would you go?
Wharton, without a doubt.
Yeah, you've got to go to Wharton because it's just bigger. It's got a bigger footprint.
Yeah,
It's got an international brand. Yeah. So
definitely. I
Wharton
think that
becomes
That's another
important.
reason I chose Yale as well, because even though the business school might be lower ranked, I feel that it's a much bigger brand overall globally.
Yeah, I understand that reasoning. One could argue about it, but there's a lot to be said for that. Uh, uh, if you wanted to go to if you wanted to go to business school, if you were focused on man, I just want to go to business school in the U.S. Okay, I just want the U.S. experience. You could make a case for Tuck over Yale. It's more highly regarded in the U.S. Going to get
Sure.
a lot of hate mail. Okay, but
Uh, how
that's just for our viewership. All right, you're very impressive. 750, 35, London. What you've got to do since people you say that your supervisor, one guy writing your interview is an HBS grad, writing your rec is an HBS grad, right?
yes,
Okay, so
my direct manager.
yeah, I assume he knows how to do it. You can never tell. Okay, I would write the guy a memo saying, "So thank you so much for being willing to do this. Let me outline let me remind you of what my major engagements have been and what I've accomplished." You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've already done that. I've already written the few bullet points that would help him
Yeah.
write a good record.
All right. You're a guy who doesn't need a lot of tutoring, my friend. You're on top of all this. And I expect to, actually, you've got a good chance at HBS, although it's tough. Okay.
Yeah,
And
I
Wharton,
understand.
yeah, Wharton would, believe me, Wharton is a wonderful school. And for your goals, it would do you fine.
Yeah, I think being an Indian male, it's tough anyway. So no matter how good you are, it's going to be tough.
You're an Indian male, but you don't have a complete Indian male profile. Usually, like you didn't go to IITs. How come you wound up at London School of? This is a question that you might be asked. How'd you wind up at the London School of Economics?
Well, I was always interested. I was never interested in sciences. I was always more interested in the business side of things. So I was always more fascinated with that. So I had the thought of studying economics, and London Business School was a great school. London School of Economics was a great school, and when they admitted me, there was no
Did you
doubt
go
that I had to
to
go.
pre-college in India?
Yes, yes.
How many people in your high school class studied abroad for college?
Not many, very few.
They might, just between me, you, and the hundreds of people listening, they might drill down on this because there's an undercurrent here, the fact that you come from a well-to-do background, in that you were willing to do that, you went to those schools, you went. So be prepared to deal with that. If it's true, you don't have to tell us. If it's true, just say it. I was very fortunate. My parents were very gung-ho about education, and they both had college degrees.
I don't come from a very well-to-do background. I come from a middle-class family. I'm a first-generation college student. So I actually, my, my parents spent a lot of their savings on college, and I actually worked a few jobs to put myself through college.
Okay, then get that in there, because the fact that you're the only kid in your high school to go to school in Europe is a little unusual. They might say, "How did that happen?"
Sure, sure. I'll cover that base as well.
Got it. You're a guy who says got it, and you actually do get it. A lot of people just say got it because they say, "Sandy, I'm tired of listening to you." It's okay if it means that also, but the more important thing is that you understand it, and you do. So we're wishing you good luck. You got any questions for me?
Yeah. So I think one thing that you spoke about was the HBS essay. So anything else that I need to keep in mind when I write the essay or the application overall or the other essays? Like, how do you? I know you said multiple times that essay is a way to reject candidates and not to get them accepted. But anything that you need to keep in mind while writing an essay to differentiate yourself from the other pool of candidates that you're writing, that you're competing against?
Well, yeah, the answer, the thing to keep in mind is don't brag and talk about influence. The essay is not a puff piece. It's a way, that's what your resume and background have done. What the resume should do is just talk about people and influences. Like the outline for it doesn't have to be this way. Believe me, people have written essays about, what else do you want us to know? And they say, I want you to know about the 8 years I spent restoring old cars and what that meant to me. That essay could work if you can make it personal and about you and not cars. But in your case, the generic essay template is, my goal is to be a Warren Buffett type impactor, and what I want to do is tell you several influences that have helped form that goal. And that has to be very personal.
Sure.
And include people. And when you talk about influences, include experiences and people.
Okay.
Good. Okay, thanks for joining us. You should do fine. And let us know how it turns out, okay?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for this, Sandy.
You're welcome. Adios.